The project Ovoid is a second home designed for a family of coffee planters in Mudigere, Chikmagalur, Karnataka. The client had a very modest requirement of a single-story 3-bedroom house wherein they would spend some time of the year and sometimes bring along family and friends for an extended stay. A 1.5-acre parcel of land was earmarked by the client in a 100-acre plantation of Robusta and Arabica coffee plantation for the house. In order not to disturb the existing coffee plants and deforestation of the coffee trees, we sited the building close to the end of the site, closer to the approach road. We've looked at a linear block oriented towards the north-south. The building has been moved 30 feet away from the approach road. The public spaces are on the right side of the block and the private resting spaces are on the left side of this block. Now we approached the building via a driveway, made space for 2 cars to be parked here. You enter the house through an entrance courtyard. Now this entrance courtyard is the space between this inside of the house and the dense plantation around it. So this entrance courtyard had a low cedar-like wall around it to create that enclosure and that threshold space. These kind of spaces are very important in a program like this, wherein the site is set in a context wherein we need to bring this experience to this house. You enter this courtyard through these wide staggering steps and you enter this foyer space. The foyer space is wrapped in slatted wood slit windows with fine metal detailing. It has its loose furniture, some antique furniture which the family owned. You again climb a couple of steps, wide cedar-like steps, to enter this large living dining open plan space. The living and dining is like a pavilion with its large aluminium sliding doors opening towards the east veranda. Now this veranda brought in nice soft morning light into this living dining space, extended out to become a generous lawn and then gradually merged with the plantation green around here. We've also looked at a veranda to the west of this family space. This west veranda captures the sunset. We've made sure that this glazed facade was interrupted by solid timber panels and some metal detailing, which brings in that little light and shadow drama inside this whole space. It protects the space from the harsh sun, which generally comes from the western side. The service block was strategically placed close to the dining and the outdoor deck space, the dining space. It comprised of the dry kitchen, which was beautifully lit with a skylight, the wet kitchen behind it, and an open to sky utility space. Next to it was placed the caretaker's room. So the whole idea was of this free-flowing space between the living, dining, the 2 verandas on both the sides extending out into green spaces, the front lawn, backside it opened into lush green. We have introduced some fruit and flowering trees behind, and then it extends and merges into the plantation. So this whole free-flowing form allows a permanent all-time connect with the green around. When you come to the other side of the foyer, you climb a couple of steps and you come into this linear passage, which also has a large, long window seating with large sliding windows, which again connects to the vegetation outside. So the idea was, as you move from one space of the house to the other space of the house, you're always visually connected to the vegetation and plantation around. We have 3 rooms on this side with its attached toilets. All the rooms have large windows to have that physical connect to the green from these private spaces. The master bedroom is a large room with a large bed, a wall-to-wall cedar again, large windows looking out into the green. Generous toilet. Since the toilet was located close to the entry, we've seeked in top light and introduced the element of green inside here also. Given the kind of monsoon this zone experiences, unlike a sloping roof, we've taken the Carbusian approach and we have looked at a concrete parasol trough-like roof which allows easy collection and pushing the water on one side. And by strategically locating outlets, we've made sure that the water gets channelized and recharges the earth. This also brings in a nice 14 feet volume inside this otherwise single-story structure. The roof stops short away from the service block to house more services on top. The tilted roof gave us this clearance to introduce a viewing deck here from where we could view the plantation deep in at all times. And this was approached via expanded metal staircase which was suspended to accommodate cars below it and approached via the linear passage which led to the private roofs. This large hovering concrete roof was supported by freestanding elliptical columns which were there on the deck and on the viewing deck. These columns inspired us to name the project Ovoid. Laterite, very indigenous to this zone, has been used for all blockwork. Laterite, with its high density and good thermal insulation properties, allows storage of heat during the day and its slow release during the evenings and cool nights. So thereby ensuring that the space inside is very comfortable and ambient. We've also looked at punctures high up on the wall, just below the roof, to allow air circulation through the spaces by stack effect. This again ensures that the building is passively cool at all times. The material palette here is very simple and restrained, with an honest flow of laterite exposed from outside to inside of the house. Rest of the walls are plastered and painted, some have cement rendering on them. We've looked at exposed concrete roof surfaces throughout the house, rough quota stone for flooring, and laminate wooden floor for the bedrooms. The interior has been very understated to complement the architecture and seamlessly flow with the architecture with its warm tones of hunsu teak, subtle tones of fabric. The landscape here has been looked at to make the space around the house more usable in terms of the generous garden that we have on the eastern side towards the eastern veranda. Helps over, they can spill out, they can move out of the living dining and spill over into these lawns. Large congregations and parties can happen here. The backside, we've looked at different fruit and flowering trees to extend that usable landscape, which then gradually merges with the dense coffee plantation all around the site.